You know, they believed before, only to be made a fool. Put their faith in a 20-something, only to suffer. Saturday, Bear fans given a glimpse of what could be. Top overall pick, Caleb Williams, dazzling, albeit in limited action, as he is hope reborn in the city of broad shoulders. Joining us now, the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, offering up his thoughts, some winners, losers, but I do want to touch upon these three rookie quarterbacks, top 10 picks, all of them, and what we saw. Let's start with the pick number 1 in Caleb Williams. This was about as clean outside of one rep of a introduction as Bear fans could have asked for. What stood out to you most? I mean, he did so many things quite solid. What was the headline for you?
Well, just the entertaining side that he brought to the game. It was so fun for him. You never felt like, Joe, the moment was too big for Caleb. And if you look at some of his entertaining plays going back to his collegiate days, that's what we saw in those 2 drives today against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, he looked like he was in command of the offense. He didn't have any issues, you know, getting the snap from the center. You look at the no-look pass right there. Oh, by the way, that was a no-look pass to DeAndre Swift that led to a huge gaining opportunity for the Chicago Bears offensively. I mean, the outstanding throws that we've witnessed from Caleb showed up in the very, very small sample size against the Buffalo Bills. So for you being a Chicago Bears fan, and it's safe to say the rest of, you know, the Bears fan base really, really enjoyed seeing what they saw from Caleb Williams. In only 2 drives, he did exceptionally well. And most importantly, the kid was smiling every opportunity. He was having so much fun, which is a big, big necessity when you talk about trying to be successful and do so in a consistent way.
Said post-game, loved what he did, but can't wait to get better. He has that ism. He has that thing about him, like you said it earlier, seemed very comfortable in his role as QB1 on this day. We know he will be QB1 heading into the season, as will be the 2nd overall pick in Jayden Daniels, who really wowed us at a moment on social media with the deep ball. We know he can throw the go, Mac. It was a dot. It was a beautiful pass downfield, but where are some of the growing pains? Maybe where's the learning curve steepest for Daniels this season as he looks to lead a team with far less talent, I'll say, offensively than this Bear squad that Williams has at his disposal?
I think the learning part for Jayden is understanding and knowing you're not going to be able to hit those long passes, the splash-like plays, as consistently and as often as he was able to do in LSU. So now working more of the intermediate passing game, you know, being able to throw your wide receivers open. You talked about that long pass. No question, is very, very accurate. But that's one of the better things that he does, that he's been able to do. Now, what about the intermediate passes? When you talk about being anywhere between 12 to 18 yards, being able to hit your wide receiver in a spot where the defender can't make a play on the football. We didn't really see any of those opportunities in today's matchup against the Jets because it was a very, very small sample size, but very, very positive. We can't knock the job that Jayden did. You know, he only played in 1 drive, but it was a scoring drive, a touchdown drive by Jayden Daniels when you talk about the read option and keeping the read, being able to get into the end zone. But in all, I mean, you have to applaud his efforts. I think the Commanders are very, very, you know, excited about what he was able to do and what he can continue to do as he developed within the offense. So for me personally, I'm nitpicking based on what we saw with the small sample size with Jayden Daniels. But so far, great job, and he's been doing a great job throughout camp as well. It wasn't just about what he did today in the preseason matchup. So far throughout camp, he's been the talk of the town there in D.C.
Yeah, still a handful of opportunities for these young studs to show us what they can be, maybe set real expectation once we do get into that half of football or 3 quarters for these rookie QBs. You said sample size. The largest one we saw was from J.J. McCarthy, and it started rocky, but seemed to settle in. Couple of touchdowns, an INT, looked to be in full control of that offense in moments. What was your big takeaway from McCarthy's day?
Well, I love the adversity that he saw early on in this ball game. You talked about the sample size. He played the most out of the other 2 guys that we spoke about, and he got hit with some adversity early on, you know, trying to fit a crossing route in, and I think it was Jack Jones who came up with a huge NFL-like interception. On the college side of things, Joe, that probably would have been a completion when you talk about throwing to college wide receivers going against college defensive backs. But in the National Football League, if you're behind just a tad bit it's probably going to get picked, and it did. But guess what? JJ kind of settled down within the offense, got right back involved into the ball game, and started lighting it up. 2 big-time touchdown throws by J.J. McCarthy. And then when you look at what he was doing when the pocket collapsed a few times, guess what? He has the ability to scramble, buy time. He bought some time, made things happen with his legs. So, yes, the interception happened early, but sometimes you want to see that from the young quarterback. You want to see that in these opportunities in the preseason, because now you want to see, will he bounce back? Is there enough air in that basketball to bounce right back to him? Guess what? It bounced back for JJ. He came out, letting it go, and all in all, a great day, a great performance for JJ McCarthy, because not only did he put points on the scoreboard, he was able to do so 2 times when you talk about those 2 touchdown throws.
I will remind that a season ago, C.J. Stroud's first preseason pass was an interception. All that came from it after that moment, I'm sure Vikings fans and McCarthy would sign up for right this instant. I'm not suggesting that's what it will be, but we must temper expectations here in the preseason. We do want to talk some winners and losers here. There was plenty of data points and plenty of players getting their first taste of NFL football. Who was your biggest winner here on Saturday?
Well, we talked about this guy early on in our segment, your guy. You know, when you look at Caleb Williams, I think he was my biggest winner based on all the attention that every first overall draft pick receives. When you play the quarterback position and you're playing in your first preseason game, all the attention is on who? You. Caleb Williams came into this situation today, everybody waiting to see, wanted to see exactly what he could do. He didn't disappoint. The only thing I would like to see from Caleb moving forward, when you get into the red area, you can't settle for field goals. He was able to drive his offense into the red area 2 times, Joe. As you know, they settled for field goals. But outside of that, I really enjoyed watching him sling it around the yard. He got the football into his pass catchers and in his superstars' hands that surrounded him, and they did what he needed to do. And, oh, by the way, I love how they were getting him out in space. That is a big thing to do when you talk about his athleticism and his arm strength and just the pizzazz that he has when it comes to throwing off-balance throws. That's when he's at his best. So that was a great way to kind of introduce all of us into how they're going to use Caleb this season in their offense.
Those off-balance throws, cutting the field in half, simplifying the read on some of that boot action, and, man, can he sling it off platform. I will say, to your point, got to be touchdowns, not field goals. First one is on Shane Waldron, 3 straight runs. I'll give Caleb the second drive. We got all season to parse it, Mac, and I'm sure we will do just that. We're also going to feel that energy next week at Bears camp. Looking forward to that with you. Your biggest loser here on Saturday is who?
Unfortunately, when you talk about preseason play, you want to hold your breath when it comes to injuries to anybody, especially key components to their said team. For me, the biggest loser is the Kansas City Chiefs and Hollywood Brown. Now, luckily, we're hearing that it's not season ending, the injury to his shoulder, but we're hearing that it could be anywhere between 4 to 5, 6 weeks, depends on the healing process for Hollywood Brown when you talk about the shoulder injury he sustained against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown, they're the biggest loser? Because Hollywood Brown he is going to be a major factor in the passing game for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you go back to a year ago, the bigger concern for the Chiefs offensively was the wide receiver unit in totality, right? The drop passes, the disconnect between quarterback and pass catcher. It was well documented. Not to mention this season, when you talk about finding a way to get Hollywood Brown to really improve the entire wide receiver unit, you don't know exactly what's going to happen with your leading wide receiver from a year ago in Rashee Rice when it comes to being disciplined by the NFL. So it's safe to say, Joe, I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving my opinion based on what we've heard in regards to time potentially missed for Hollywood Brown. He may not be ready to go week 1. And, oh, by the way, Joe, week 1 matchup is against Baltimore, a playoff championship caliber team. And that's not the ideal scenario you would like to have when you talk about going to get a playmaker like Hollywood Brown, because I do believe playing with Pat Mahomes, he can have a career-like year in this offense along with the quarterback who's getting the football, like I said. So you don't ever want to see an injury happen, especially in preseason play. Unfortunately, the reality of the game, it happens. And because of that, they're my biggest loser.
Mac, a little HQ anatomy, that subluxation or that dislocation for Brown, not on the outside of the shoulder, here inside on the sternum. So an odd spot, and spot that could give him issues
very
longer.
Rare. You don't see it a lot.
Rare.
You don't see it a lot, and it's very, very painful as well.
And you started that by saying you want to take a deep breath in these moments. Might be hard for Brown here in the weeks to come because it is a big part of that offense, and maybe the rookie is going to have to step up in the absence, maybe come to age a little quicker. I just don't want you jumping off that Chiefs bandwagon too quick this season. We did it a year ago.
No, I'm going to be a little more patient.
We did it a year ago.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I mean you. Mac, I love you, pal. We'll talk to you soon. Plenty of season out in front of us.
Yes, sir.
All right, here's a look at what's in front of us on Sunday. The four that have not appeared yet will. That is the Broncos taking on the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Rams, rounding out week 1 of preseason action.